Hello and welcome. Today I am joined by someone from all the way over from Israel, Yehuda Shinar. Yehuda, thank you very much for joining.
You're most welcome, Andy.
Yeah, no problem. So I've got you down as in terms of your work. So you were actually mentioned to me by Tony Falkner on a previous one of these. And I've looked into your work and it's really, really interesting. So you're the owner and CEO of the Winning Centre, which I'm going to get into more about that a little bit later on. But whereabouts are you speaking from now?
Sorry, say.
Where are you based?
I am based in Israel.
Great. And is that where you're from originally then?
Yes, I was born here.
Right. So just tell me a bit more about your background then, in terms of like whereabouts in Israel you were born, and then how you got into this area.
Okay. I was born here in Israel, and I have been quite a long time in the business of assessing new candidates using a method that we have developed in my own company. And that brings me to Winning, because at some stage we realized here that actually our clients are interested in having on board the type of a person whom we call winners. Everybody wants to be winners. Everybody wants to be surrounded by winners. They want their children, they want the athletes, they want the soldiers. But when you ask 10 people, what makes someone a winner? What is winning? Who are those winners? When you ask 10 people, you get 12 answers. And most of the answers are getting you to all these stereotypical levels. A winner is a very that. The word very keeps getting in, but there is no link between the way people perceive the term winners. And I decided to get to the bottom of this question. What actually makes someone a winner? What is the profile of winner? What could you expect of someone who is a winner? What makes someone a winner? What is being a winner? What is it? And after interviews, many people from different areas, including HR people, managers, whoever it may be, I could see that anyway you look at the way people are perceiving the term and relating to the term of winners, actually we all in some way relate to winners as those amongst us whom you are quite certain that once they take a mission upon themselves, and that it doesn't matter really what is the scope of the mission, anything that they would take upon themselves, they will keep coming back with the best possible results once and again, time after time, and they will keep on trying to improve themselves, and they will manage to improve themselves, meaning I'll call it the winning equation. On the one side, these are the people, and it doesn't really matter what is their level. They may be anyone, okay? Anyone whom you truly believe, based on knowing them, that once they take a mission upon themselves, a task, they will keep on coming with the best possible results time after time, and the end should be there. And they are desperately trying to get better and better, and they manage to improve. Meaning they keep on breaking their, what we call in sport, they keep on breaking their BP, best performance, or the BP. You know the term BP, best performance?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then in terms of like that is really interesting. How do you even define what winning is in the first place for anyone?
So that's what I said. After speaking with so many people who are looking for hiring and having on board the best people they can find, when you translate their expectation, that's actually what people in any area, industrial area, sport, army, anywhere, that's what you are expecting from your best employee, if you wish, or worker, or team worker, or a colleague, someone that you can trust, that the moment they take a mission upon themselves, you can be absolutely sure that statistically they will come with the best possible result that they can achieve, that anyone can achieve under the circumstances, and they will keep breaking their own records. Keep on working, okay? So now that alone raised a question, a logical question. Speaking of someone, maybe you are such a person. Speaking of people who are able to demonstrate an ongoing successful achieving once and again their goals. Once they take upon themselves a mission, a certain goal, and they achieve it once and again, it cannot be related any longer to luck. There is no luck there. You can speak about luck when someone achieves something quite nice, and then twice and three times not so much, and then all of a sudden he or she succeed to achieve their goal. Then you may relate it to luck. But when you speak of people who systematically and continuously bring up the best possible results under the given circumstances, and they keep breaking their own glass ceiling, there is no luck there. There must be a system there.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting again, because we've done loads of these interviews now, and a recurring theme is that people say, I was very lucky, and these are high achievers. But how would you, I don't think they've got a particular plan. It's like, oh, someone just phoned me. But why would you analyze that?
I'm not surprised by your question, because after working and dealing with this winning issue, I realized that so many people, so many successful people, they are not aware of what did they have done properly, good, that brought them success. They don't know. They believe they do, but when you ask them, they can speak about and they can describe, let's say, 20 to 30% of the whole process they've been through. But all of a sudden they say, and maybe all the other aspects are here pure instinct. And it's not, because when you speak about systematically achieving your goals, time after time after time, there must be a system there, a method. And what is so promising about that is that when you speak about a method, a system, this is a learnable aspect. What is a method? What is a system? It's based on know-how, on some rules of do's and don'ts, on specific skills that are required there. So all of a sudden, it's not a gift. It's something which is learnable. And I initiated a research, which its aim was to get to the bottom of that system, of that method, what this method is built of. And then I said, if it's so learnable, let's learn, what are the parameters, the items that this method includes? Secondly, what are the personal attributes, personality characteristics that are required for operating that system? And then I'm okay, I'm all set. I'll teach myself, I'll teach my children, I'll teach my soldiers, everyone. And I offered some leading firms in Israel to get along and to cooperate in that study. Let's not call it research, because it has a context of something academical, which it was not. It was a real study, and all of them, including the Israeli Air Force, they all have shown a great interest in taking part of this, being partners in this, because it's really in the interest of everyone. And I, from some reasons that are irrelevant for the moment, I have chosen the Israeli Air Force. And the person who was at that time in charge on the whole sociology issue in creating new young fighter pilots, he told me that it was so interesting for him because in the way they assessed new candidates for flying school, and when screening all the candidates, the issue of being a winner was not a part of it, because they didn't have even a clue what that term implied. So, but he said it sounds very interesting, and yes, we've been together in this voyage. And now I'll tell you what I have found in that voyage. I have found that dramatically, statistically, gift, talent, IQ were not the case. Which means being a winner, and now let's take the winner terminology from sky above down to earth, okay? We are talking about people whom you trust based on knowing them, people whom you trust that statistically they will keep coming back with the best possible results once again and again and again, and they will keep breaking their own records once again and again. And to be part of that group, you don't have to be especially talented, gifted, highly intelligent. No. Not only that, we all know some very gifted people who are very intelligent, but at the money time, they freeze. They disappear. Very interesting. So even more than that, we have found that these people, our winners, are the kind of people who in their inner conversation, they would say something along the lines of, I won't let gift and talent, the level as it is, to determine my success rate. No. If it won't come from the gift, from the natural gift, it will come out from hard working on the skills. And I can tell you, and this is not a military secret, we have already 3 Air Force generals who have been almost kicked out of flying school because they've been what we call slow starters, late bloomers. Gift was not there. But they keep on worked on their skills, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, gradually they became better pilots than those that on paper were much more gifted than they are. If you take Michael Jordan, the ultimate winner, do you know that during high school, his friends didn't want to take him as part of the team because he was not good enough? And he kept coming home crying like a baby. They don't want me in the team. And his mother said to him, so why are you crying like a baby? Go and practice. And so we definitely know that gift, talent are not the factors. Now the question, what it is? What is the factor? And if I have to condense the whole real explanation of what actually makes someone a winner, is the level of their self-management, which means whatever you do, whatever I do, whatever step you take, whatever step I take, any execution, any kind of, it's the result of the decision we have taken before then. Do you understand what I mean?
No, keep explaining it to me just so I'm aware, please.
Everything we do is the result of an early decision we have taken. And the quality of our execution depends on the quality of the decision we take, as well as the quality of the actual performance on field. But it all starts with the sort, level, quality of your decision. That's what would dictate the continuation. Would you agree?
Okay, so basically, if you're trying to achieve whatever it may be, it's
Yes.
whatever the way you decide of how you're going to approach that challenge. That's the key factor.
So the problem is, Andy, that when we are in a process of decision making, there is a problem. There is a challenge, because at that moment there are two parts of us who are getting involved in our decision making. Our ratio, I call it the head, and the heart, the emotional part, the Andy's part, Yehuda's part. The heart is me, is you, is your habits. That includes your habits, your preferences, your beliefs, whatever. The head in normal people, speaking of normal people, the head represents the reasonable person. And now you might find yourself under a huge conflict. Your heart, your Andy, would say, go to the left. But when you turn to your head, the head might tell you, no, go to the right. And now you are in a huge inner conflict, a huge inner war. Winners are those who are running this inner war in such a way that they let the head to take the lead, because they want, even under pressure, to be in a status where they take rational decisions rather than emotional ones.
Okay, and then
which means, let me just finish the sentence, which means they are ready to give away a momentary satisfaction for the biggest one, for winning over yourself, which is the bigger satisfaction a person can experience. That I did it against all odds. All right, I did it. There is no satisfaction that competed, but that requires a huge fight against oneself, which makes winner first and foremost warriors. Not someone who will fight and get in conflict with his neighbor or whoever, against oneself. And that's what eventually makes someone with a fantastic tool for taking a real rational decision, which means winners are first and foremost warrior who are excellent just in one thing, in self-management. Now, ladies normally would ask you in every workshop that I run, there are the ladies who are coming with a question, what about intuition? You're talking about taking decision based on ratio. What about intuition? And then I send them to Google, and they happily find that intuition is educated guess. It's not just a hunch. It's coming from here. So it's okay.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say, really, because like gut instinct for me, I feel like when I sort of do get a gut instinct, but I guess that is a combination of both, is it?
Exactly. When you speak about instinct, when you speak about intuition, when you approach 3 years old child, they don't have those instincts, and it's something learnable, but you are not actually aware of what brings you to the instinct decision or the intuition. It's something which is evolved and developed during time, based on experience, based on other people's experience. It's not just hunch. All right. And now, when you understand that the basic of any winning behavior is being in a status of good self-management, then you go to the next level. By the way, all this what you hear now, that's the model, the winning model. After I finished the whole research, the whole study, I packed all of these into a kind of a model, and I handed over to the Israeli chief of science, and it got improved. It got proved. It got confirmed as a project that should be supported by the Israeli government, and that's what we got. We've been under the wings of the Israeli government as a selected project, because we have shown, first of all, what are the personal requirements being a warrior, and what is the method. All of a sudden, we've been realized this, yes, there is a method there, that if you are in a status of self-management, then there is a structure by which you are referring to 12 rules for this, for taking winning decisions. Everyone knows this. I will display one of them. But when you are in a status of self-management, good self-management, now before you do anything, you have to make sure that you take the right decision given the circumstances. And there are 12 rules, only 12, that represent the 12 situations that you and I might be confronted by. Not more. There are not more than 12. And all of these, like, you know, like a shelf with books, there are 12 situations, challenges. Attached to them is the generic solution. So a person need to understand what is the situation that he is there, to look at the book, to pick up the right book, and to take the right decision, to translate it to his own content world. And just to summarize it, then comes the systematic way of how do you approach your goal. And it's fascinating to see how simple it is. When you look at the way winners are approaching a certain goal, they are defining their top goal in a certain way. They are defining, they require preconditions that need to be there in order to achieve the top goal. And they debrief. Winners are the greatest self-debriefers. They know at every single second, are they getting closer or maybe farther from their top goal, by a very, very simple way of self-debriefing. Now, here is the story. I've been working with our Israeli Air Force for 7 years as part of the system that are creating our new fighter pilots at the stage where they have completed flying school. And now they are learning how to get a range for the given mission, how to start, what to do. And they are expert in debriefing. But Winning have brought to the table another level of debriefing, which by the debriefing, the person knows not just what was wrong there or was right, but in his own performance, in his own conducting, what contributed to either success or failure. So winners learn about themselves. They become their best coaches, their own psychologists. They get to know themselves fantastically, but for that purpose, they need to be warriors who are ready to look at the mirror and to realize what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and on those the weaknesses, to work on that and to improve those. Everyone can do it. No secrets.
So is that basically self-awareness then? That's the key component. If you're self-aware, that you can say...
When there is no self-awareness, there is no way that a person would make any improvement. You must be brave enough to look at the mirror and to say, here and that I was an idiot. And to work on it. That's it. If it doesn't come from the natural gift, it will come from hard working on the skill, on developing the skills. And again, it's not so easy, Andy. No one can get improved skyrocketing, because when you try to improve, there are many moments where you fail. But winners are warrior. They don't let themselves getting in kind of victimizing themselves. They want to get things done because they know that when they will get things done against all odds, there is no higher satisfaction. They don't do it for the team. They don't do it for the organization. They do it for themselves. And once you learn those, by the way, I'll give you an example. You know that I've been working with Clive Woodward, and it's very funny because when I have shown him everything that now you are listening to, after 5 minutes, Clive told me, Yehuda, I got you. I am very good in debriefing, and I immediately debriefed myself and I said, Yehuda, you blew it. If after 5 minutes, Clive is saying something along the line of, okay, got you, it means I failed. And in my last breath, I said, Mr. Clive, but I still have quite a lot to share with you. And he said, listen, Yehuda, in the 5 minutes that you have spoken, I got to the understanding that you know exactly what you are talking about. B, we are doing nothing of all of this. I want to come to Israel to learn winning from A to Z. And he came over to Israel, to my house, and he learned winning. It was my first time ever to teach winning.
So and he was then. So we could carry on.
And he was so fascinated. By the way, just see how clever this gentleman was and still is. At some stage, I took him to my local airport, and I hired an aircraft. I invited him to sit in. I took the controls, and I took him just to have a view over Israel, all right? So he sat next to me, and I flew the aircraft, and all of us, and I went over a place called Jaffa, Old Jaffa. Believe it or not, Andy, he was looking down, and he said, hey, Yehuda, down is the restaurant when we have eaten last night our fish meal. I was like, how the hell you managed to recognize the restaurant from above? Unbelievable. I will never forget it. But speaking of the briefing, by the way, you know that then he took me to Twickenham, and we have taught everyone who was at the team, the players, the physios, everyone. And all of a sudden, from a team that didn't manage to get a significant win nowhere, all of a sudden, they didn't stop winning. You see the definition of winners? Winning in a row. They won 10 or 12 winning in a row. They broke their own record from the year 18, whatever. And then we managed to get to the World Championship. And the rest is history. We took the World Cup. And speaking of debriefing, Tony Falkner contacted me and said, could you help us to achieve the same with Blackburn Rovers, the youth academy? And I said, yes, I will try. I'm not promising, I'll try. And I got there. And I went and I met the team. And after a game, I asked them to debrief. Everybody in their role had to say how good they were, or maybe not, and they debriefed. And all of them said about themselves that they've been A. And I said to myself, no debriefing here. Now listen very carefully. At the huge championship, we played against Coventry at the final. And they had the lead. Coventry had the lead 3-1. Bob, the manager of the academy, almost when the game was over, was very sorry, very sad, and said, Yehuda, again, we didn't manage to get there, to get the championship. And I said, Bob, the game is not over. Have you heard the referee whistling for finishing the game? He said, no. But Yehuda, here is football, 90 minutes and it's over. He didn't even finish his sentence, and the referee uses whatever, the whistle. 5 minutes, no, 5 or 10, I don't remember, minutes, extra time, injury time. We scored 3 goals. And you heard over the pitch messages and sentences coming from the winning model. They encourages each other, and the game was over by winning. And all of a sudden, all the team, I swear to God, Mark Hughes brought the huge cup, and they all sat around the cup. They didn't run to the family who were the people there. No, they sat around the cup. And Bob asked me, Yehuda, what the hell are they doing? And I said, I don't know. Would you mind going there? Ask them. So I did. I went there and I asked the captain, what are you doing? So he surprisingly looked at me in a big surprise, Yehuda, we debrief. It became their second nature, because every one of them felt that debriefing is a key factor for success. These are not just wording. Being a good debriefer is the highlight of being a winner.
Could you just give me some practical things around that then? So, like, just give me an example of, like, you mentioned about the one there about they all gave themselves an A, but how should that be? Is it something you do individually? Do you do it as part of a team? Do you do both?
Both. With teams, I run quite a lot of winning sessions one-on-one. All options. But it's important to mention and to emphasize that just a workshop doesn't have a lot of chances to create the change, because otherwise people will get back to their bad habits, you know. So a workshop should be a kickoff for a process. And then there is no reason in the world, by the way, some people just don't want to be such winners because they don't want to be in a stage where they need to sacrifice, but that's okay. And when I realize in a certain group of people there are anyone who are not buying into the whole idea, because this is a way of living. And there are some people out there who are not warriors by their nature, and they are ready to pay the price. Yes, they know that they will pay the price, but they prefer not to be warriors, not to get under self-management so strictly. They prefer not to, and then you free them, you go. There's no point of trying to make out of them something that they will never be. No point.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting then. So in terms of like that debriefing and so on, like how long does it take to get into a habit of doing something like that? Should it be thought of as a habit, or should it just be an active process?
I will shock you down now. Speaking of debriefing, Andy, try to guess how long does it take to debrief in a very, very, very good way, that you really knows exactly, are you getting closer or farther from your designated goal? What do you think? How long does it take?
In terms to analyze, if to debrief yourself, I don't know, 30 minutes?
30 minutes. If you are not well practiced, just during the workshop, when you start to exercise this, it takes 2 minutes. When you are well practiced, seconds. Can you see, Andy, in few seconds, you know exactly, are you on track or you are not? And if you are not, what you need to do in order to get back on track, you know. Because all of the model is learnable. No miracles, no high stuff like I don't know what. Pure method. And we are planning now to bring it to children in elementary school. You just adjust the language. That's it. But the idea is the same.
So for that then, so I have some tangible examples for me. So it's like, for example, I'm working on, say, our numbers for this year or so on. And it does give me stress if I'm thinking, right, I don't know exactly where we're at in terms of cash flow, those sort of things. As soon as I delve into those numbers and look at it and think, actually, no, this is good, straight away I'm like, yeah, that's great. And like you're right, it's like, actually, I know our numbers are fine. I know that. And I just know it, like you say, within, I don't even have to think about it because I know it's done. The same in terms of keeping on top of, say, sales team meetings or so on, but you just feel like organized in your own head. I know that's being dealt with. So is that the sort of thing that you just need to have a very clear target of what you're trying to achieve, and then you almost take...
You are so accurate and right. Winners don't even make the first step, the very first step, before knowing exactly what do they want to see at the end. And they find their top goal by using measurable, tangible parameters, because only then they can go to the next level of analyzing and deciding what should be the 4 to 5 preconditions, the must preconditions, that without which you won't get and you won't reach your top goal. But you cannot get to the understanding what are these must preconditions if you don't know exactly what you are up to.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, how would you debrief against what versus what? You need to have a very clear understanding what you've been up to. What did you want to achieve in order to debrief properly?
Yeah, I did a session the other day, and again, I know the way I am. I will stress if I don't have a clear goal. I know that's going to give me anxiety. But we did a session with two friends of mine who both got their own businesses, and one of them facilitated it, and we did, I think it was 2.5 year, 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day goals in terms of that. And I found it so helpful to think, actually, right, that's where we're going to. And he led that session. But in terms of like, how do you, is that a format that you think is good? Is there any specific format that you think would be helpful? Should you be starting X number of years ahead and then gradually working back, similar to what we did there?
I think that the system, the whole package is very, very clear, well established, and it proves itself. And by the way, speaking of the necessity of gift for being successful, my idea is to bring, this is a new idea that came to my mind lately, to bring the winning model to education. Why to education? Because you and I and millions, Andy, of pupils all over history were exposed to a message that make a linkage between gift and being successful. I'll give you an example. First time ever a teacher asked a question in mathematics. And there's always this annoying child who knows the answer before the teacher ends his question. And what happened with all the rest? They feel like stupids and they shut down their connection, whatever, with mathematics. Finish. I'm not good enough. I have no way, no chance. In that moment, the romance with mathematics finishes. For many, it's unbelievable. Winners are not that way. They would say, if it doesn't come, and that's what we wish to bring to education, to prove to pupils, to students, that if it doesn't come from the natural gift, it can come brilliantly by working on skills, practicing. Unbelievable. But practicing the winning way, by debriefing, by being a warrior who doesn't let go when it comes to some, crisis and all this. You know what I mean? Embarrassment and being frustrated by not being able to immediately know the answer. Being a warrior, fantastic self-management, and keep on doing the right stuff. It will come. And once they are getting used to it, because they realize that, yes, there is a way, that's for life.
Yeah, I mean, again, obviously I'm relating it back to me here, but I think it's really interesting. And I was going to ask you about what warrior meant, but I think I get it now in terms of that, because it's like, again, if I'm talking about a particular challenge that, say, we're dealing with, you can either look at it and be thinking, oh, that's stressful, that's hard, or you say, right, this is it, we're doing it, we're going to solve this, we know we can do it. And it's like, whether it's flight or fight, that sort of thing. It's like, right, I'm doing this, I'm going to hit this hard, we're going to solve it, we know it's got a solution. That's the way, that's my interpretation of what you're saying.
By the way, and to complete what you say, at the same time, they know when the right thing is not to do something. It's not always in favor to do. Sometimes it's wrong to go a certain direction or to take a certain move. We call them noble warriors. They won't cheat. They won't do anything for winning. No. They won't kick you in under your knee in order to take the ball out of you. No. Noble warriors. The only fight they have it's against themselves. They won't cheat. Values are the top. Okay? So sometimes winners know when not to do. Who says that it's always you're obliged to do something? No, sometimes the winning behavior is not to do. And by using your head, who represent the reasonable person, you will know what you're supposed to do or you should not do. And now it's between you and yourself, whether you go with your head or you go the easiest way with your heart. That's another issue.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting.
By the way, you mentioned those people that not necessarily they know what's behind their success. I had the privilege to show my model before showing it to our chief of science, the Israeli chief of science. I met a certain guy and who is in Guinness book. He is #1 in air shoot down of jet planes. Air shoot down, dogfights. He's #1 in the world. All right. And I picked him in order to analyze and to criticize the model, because the model has 2 additional chapters: how winners are running their competitive arenas. What makes them so successful in competitive arenas? #1. We have another chapter: how can someone become a good winning leader? Not every manager is a good leader. What makes someone such a leader that when he takes around himself a group of individuals and make out of them a winning team? What is the secret here? What these successful leaders who are excellent in creating winning teams, what do they do differently? So going back to this gentleman who is #1 in the Guinness book in air shoot down, I asked him to criticize my work, mainly in that chapter of how winners are running their competitive arenas. And he came back and he said to me, listen, I was amazed by the way you got into my own brain. I was not aware of what I'm doing, what am I doing right there when it comes to a winning. I was not aware. If you would ask me before reading your paper, he called it paper, what brought you that enormous success, I would relate it to pure instinct. He said 30% of the process of air shoot down I could have described to you. The next I would have related as to pure instinct. But now you give me a recipe. It's a recipe. Now I can duplicate winnings as much as I want, because it doesn't based on instinct. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Recipe.
Well, yeah, on that point, so for me, again, we run a sales company. I run a sales company, but the numbers are obviously important because you need to make profit, you need to pay people. That's important. But fundamentally, for me, we want to be a great, and that's really important that we're doing a great job. How would you build something like that, which you can't necessarily put a tangible number to, so you can have a goal of it, but how would you look at something like that where the numbers are important, but for me it's more driving the activity of delivering a great service to the clients, really adding value? How do you quantify or work on those sort of things?
I'm afraid, Andy, that I would like you to rephrase your question, because I'm not so sure that I really understand what you are meaning.
So in terms of, we're talking about goal setting. So the goal may be we want to generate X number of sales. We want to do this, which of course you need to have that. But to achieve that number, I don't want us to compromise on the way that we deal with customers, the way that we try and do things. We're trying to build for like a long-term of great service and delivering a very, very, very good service for our clients. And also internally for me, I want the employees to really enjoy what they're doing and to be bought into the mission. So how do you kind of work those both quantifiable and maybe not as quantifiable things?
So it's just as normal as always. You as an organization, if you want to adopt the winning model, if you want to adapt it and to start and to make out of it your culture, okay, it requires that everyone's, including the leaders, they need to be highly acquainted with the language, with the tools. Winning is not a philosophy that comes from the motivational aspect, blah, blah, blah. Winning is purely a toolbox, a very certain one. And all of the organization need to be exposed and to get acquainted with this toolbox, with the philosophy, with the ideas, but with the toolbox. And for that purpose, the process starts with a workshop of 2 days, because it's a lot of information. It's a lot of information. By the way, if it doesn't include managerial issue, the management, winning management and leadership chapter, if it doesn't that, if you just go to to salesmen, let's say, or service people, okay, then 1 day is enough. But when you speak about upgrading the management level, then it's 2 days, lots of tools and know-how, and lots of practicing. The workshop is based on getting acquainted with certain tools, and then practicing it. That's stage number 1. Number 2 is escorting the organization and keeping in contact no matter how, but to make sure that let's call it a debriefing process, by which we debrief you as to how much you see improvement in those parameters that we set in the beginning. There must be some parameters that indicates how much, yes, we realize that there is an improvement and getting closer to our goal. And my role is to debrief the client as to how much we meet those parameters, and what is the improvement rate, where it still need to be, where is a need to make a more focus, maybe with a certain person. But that's how it works.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. And then you mentioned the thing with the England rugby team. How did that come about? How did they engage with you in the first place?
The leader, because it must come from him. The leader came here, studied winning from A to Z.
But how did he find you in the first place? How did that happen?
There was a gentleman, Mr. Wetrin, who was ex-Israeli, and at that time he lived in England. He had a computer company called Alonex. I don't think that they still exist. And Clive worked for him, part-time job in selling laptops. At that time, he still needed that extra money. And one of their meetings, Mr. Wetrin told Clive, knowing that and being aware that the public are begging Clive to go home and to let someone else bring back the glory. And Mr. Wetrin told him at that moment, at that time, I know that you are under real pressure coming from the crowd. I don't know if you know, but in Israel, because Mr. Wetrin was one of the inventors who invents in winning. Not just the Israeli government, where some other people privately they invest in winning. He was one of them. So he told Clive that in Israel there is a gentleman knows how winners are winning. Is he interesting enough to listen, to hear Yehuda? He said, yes, but I'm just about to go to live. So how quick can he come here? And my answer was, I will get to England quick enough. And I met him and his captain, what was his name?
Martin Johnson?
No, before Martin Johnson, Delalio.
Delalio.
Johnson replaced Delalio. And the rest is history.
And then in terms of like Clive Woodward wrote the book, really well known.
Sorry?
He wrote the book Winning.
Yes.
So, like, how, like, was that based on some of the stuff? When was that written? Was that around after you'd must have been afterwards?
Yes. First of all, we had an agreement, not a written one, a gentleman one, that if I would be able to support the team and the team will become a winning team, he will make sure that everyone in England or maybe in the world will know about Yehuda. It was funny because when we start winning, we won France, we won, and I've been waiting for him to say something. The crowd were astonished by the huge revolution that the team went through, and he said nothing about Yehuda. and I gently asked him, Clive, we had an agreement. I didn't charge you even for 1 penny. He said, don't worry, I will keep my promise. And then he came to me one day saying that he is about to write the book of winning after winning the World Cup. And he dedicated a huge chapter for my contribution. The header was Answers in Israel. And there he tells all the story, including him flying with me over the Israeli beach.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Yeah, it's amazing to be a part of such a historic and iconic team and victory. So that's amazing. And we're going a long time here. I'm sure that we may well get you back on here because it's been really interesting. But just to hear a bit more about you, how did you get started in this area? Like, what was your motivation? What was your education? How did you get into this area?
Also, in my original job, I was a computer man, a software a programmer, a computer programmer. But then I was incidentally with a person, a very famous person in Israel, who was the manager of a very successful company. And we in a very, out of the blue, we met and we talked, and he told me that from his own experience, technology know-how means nothing. A company, an organization would fail or rise based on the quality of the people at the organization. So my reaction was, so what's the problem? Make sure you have good people. He said, oh, that's the major problem. How do you find them? And he said to me that using all the regular methods by, psychometric tests and all this stuff, he said, sometimes it works, sometimes you can hardly find good people. You can hardly relate and trust the reports you get from all these assessment centers. And Andy, a moment of, I don't know what, I said to him, I'm going to try to develop an assessment method that will be the answer for your dreams of having a good method by which you can analyze people and relying on it. And the rest is history, because that's what I did. I went to my boss at that time and I quit, and I collected some money from people. I think I have been one of the first startups here in Israel, and I took handwriting as the main, you may call it the main platform to analyze people, not in order to create another graphology. If you heard about graphology, I didn't believe in graphology. Everything I read about graphology was rubbish. But handwriting is very accessible. You don't need to have the presence of no one. You just need to have the paper. So I decided to try to build up and to create and to design an assessment tool based on handwriting, not based on graphology. And eventually, after almost 1 year, I managed to identify certain components which are in your handwriting, in my own, which could be good basis for assessing people, analyzing people. I put it under many tests, and I can tell you that it's a magic. It's unbelievable. It works like hell. And the whole idea of winning came from there, because when I started to be a rocking star in Israel in testing for companies, I realized that they're all speaking when they are trying to describe for me who are their favorite employees. Very often they use winners. We want to be a winner organization, and for that we need to have on board people who are winners, because winners will make a winning organization. And I agreed, but when I asked them, so what makes someone a winner? How do you recognize a winner? There started the whole thing.
That's really interesting. So how do you analyze someone's handwriting? I've got terrible handwriting, but hopefully I'm a good worker.
Doesn't matter. We analyze this. We analyze people who are writing in Chinese. I don't know how to read Chinese. I get by the mail a scanned handwriting, and that's it. It works like hell.
How do you actually do it then? Like, what are you looking for when you're looking at someone's handwriting then?
We will need about 1 more day for that purpose.
We'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that one. No, I do think that's a fascinating thing. Like I do like those sort of things. We use the Clifton Strengths Test, Gallup, for doing it. Not a fan.
It's unbelievable. We know when we analyze handwriting, we see a person. We see them. We see whether they smile or not. We know everything about their values. How honest are they? And since I'm coming from winning, I know how much of a winners they are. We know everything about them.
You can give me one thing, but how, like, if you can do it in like just one thing about handwriting, because again, I understand trying to get a generic personality test is very difficult and depends what you do in there.
So what is your question? What is your question?
So for the handwriting, I know I genuinely would like to know a bit more about that, but can you just say, look at what I've written down during this session, like be thinking, right, okay, he's X or Y, or maybe give you some ideas for it.
I need some time to work on the handwriting, and that's it. And I know everything about the person, everything.
Right.
A part of all this rubbish of what can you expect in the future, blah blah blah. No, I'm not. It's not that kind of I call it the winning test. The winning test, I call it the winning test, can reveal all of your personality construction, your beliefs, your abilities, your competence, your professional competence, everything, your intelligent level, everything.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating. I really think this whole area is really amazing. So I really appreciate you sharing your story. I definitely would like to get more information on this stuff, and I'll put your details in. I'll put your website and so on in, because I think it's an amazing area, and I think everyone wants to be a winner. I think I agree. Trying to define what that is,
and it's accessible. It's accessible. That's the beauty. That's the beauty. I told you about the 3 Air Force generals. They've been almost being kicked out of flying school. Michael Jordan was not chosen to be part of the team. means nothing. There's a lot that can be done. And by the way, late bloomers, slow starters are in every house, at every home. There's at least one person like that. In every organization, there are few potential winners who are late bloomers, slow starters. But when they are getting acquainted with the toolbox that I'm talking about, they can flourish.
Yeah, no, I think that's a brilliant note.
And the organizations are behaving like a person. You can see that it's the same pattern. So even an organization can be much more successful than they are. The same rules are relevant for a person as an individual, a team, and the whole organization. The same rules.
Yeah, well, again, from my perspective, I went through university clearing to get into what I'm doing. So I was like late in terms of delivering that, but I've succeeded, however you want to say it, within your career. And definitely from Physiquip's perspective, I sort of feel like we are a new organisation in the last 2 years. So I definitely agree we've been going for 10 years, but I feel like we're a completely different organisation 8 years into that. So that definitely resonates with me, and I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of people. So I'd love to get you back on at some point and maybe even get you over to England. So Yehuda, I really appreciate you sharing your story and some of the insights that you've given. And again, I'll put your details in here because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that are interested in this. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you too, Andy. It was great to meeting you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.